And every time we went to see that old fellow, my mama told me to plug my ears, because every other word that came out of Pop Bradley's mouth was a cuss or something filthy. In a sour sort of way, I was starting to enjoy this. So naturally I listened all the harder. I remember that one of Pop's favorite sayings was, "Never mount a mare without a bridle, because you can never tell which way a bitch will run." Am I supposed to understand that? Which way do you suppose my bitch ran, Mr. Lester? Are you telling me your wife has absconded, Mr. Lester? Decamped? Took French leave? Did a midnight flit? As an avid reader and student of American slang, such terms occur naturally to me. Lars, however, and most other town folks, will just say, "She run off and left him," when the word gets around. Or him and the boy, in this case. I naturally thought she would have gone to her hog fancying friends at the Farrington Company, and the next I heard from her would have been a notice that she was selling her father's acreage. As she means to do. Has she signed it over yet? Because I guess I'd have to go to law, if she has. As a matter of fact, she hasn't. But when she does, I would advise you against the expense of a legal action you would surely lose. I stood up. One of my overall straps had fallen off my shoulder, and I hooked it back into place with a thumb. Well, since she's not here, it's what the legal profession calls a moot question, wouldn't you say? I'd look in Omaha, if I were you. I smiled. Or St. Louis. She was always talking about San Lu. It sounds to me as if she got as tired of you fellows as she did of me and the son she gave birth to. Said good riddance to bad rubbish. A plague on both your houses. That's Shakespeare, by the way. Romeo and Juliet. A play about love. You'll pardon me for saying, but all this seems very strange to me, Mr. James. He had produced a silk handkerchief from a pocket inside his suit. I bet traveling lawyers like him have lots of pockets, and began to mop his face with it. His cheeks were now not just flushed but bright red. It wasn't the heat of the day that had turned his face that color. Very strange indeed, considering the amount of money my client is willing to pay for that piece of property, which is contiguous with Hemmingford Stream and close to the Great Western Rail line. It's going to take some getting used to on my part as well, but I have the advantage of you. Yes. I know her. I'm sure you and your clients thought you had a deal all made, but Arlette James. Let's just say that nailing her down to something is like trying to nail jelly to the floor. We need to remember what Pop Bradley said, Mr. Lester. Why, the man was a countrified genius. Could I look in the house? I laughed again, and this time it wasn't forced. The man had gall, I'll give him that, and not wanting to go back empty-handed was understandable. He'd ridden 20 miles in a dusty truck with no doors, he had 20 more to bounce across before he got back to Hemmingford City, and a train ride after that, no doubt. He had a sore ass, and the people who'd sent him out here weren't going to be happy with his report when he finally got to the end of all that hard traveling. Poor feller. I'll ask you one back, could you drop your pants so I could look at your ghoulie bits? I find that offensive. I don't blame you. Think of it as not a simile, that's not right, but a kind of parable. I don't understand you. Well, you've got an hour back to the city to think it over, too, if Lars's red baby throws a tire. And I can assure you, Mr. Lester, that if I did let you poke around through my house, my private place, my castle, my ghoulie bits, you wouldn't find my wife's body in the closet or. There was a terrible moment when I almost set her down the well. I felt sweat spring out on my forehead. Or under the bed. I never said. Henry. I called,